The morning after my first office holiday party, I woke up in a dog bed in someone else's house. This was surprising to everyone involved, but perhaps most poignantly, the dog. The night prior had been an elegant shindig at an Austin bar where I'd managed to knock back 2 bottles of wine, suck down a pack of smokes, and eat absolutely nothing. I remember having a blast that night. I remember being on fire. And then, I remember nothing. This happens sometimes, a blackout like one of those cartoon anvils that descend from the sky with a whistle and conk you over the head. I woke up that morning when the Labrador's cold, wet snout nudged into my face. "Hey, lady, can you make some room?" I've always liked booze, even when I was too young to know I wasn't allowed to like it. At 8 and 9, I used to steal sips from half-empty cans of Pearl Light left by my parents in the refrigerator. A good girl's bad little secret. In high school, I knocked back Budweisers while the sweet sugar plums on the dance team sipped their dainty wine coolers and passed out on the couch. College was a 5-year jag of bargain wine and bourbon. I was good at drinking, which was a relief because I also quite liked it. Being drunk solved one of the key problems of my existence, namely that I was me. An overthinker by nature, I'm prone to settling on a comfy couch and pondering how on earth I could ever leave it. And sometimes I think I never would have if I hadn't loved drinking so much. I mean, booze turned every maybe into an unequivocal yes. I say yes to that party, and I say yes to dancing on that table, and I say yes to smoking till dawn and spilling all our secrets, and I say yes to making out with that gentleman in the corner, and I say yes to that hot dog wrapped in bacon and dipped in chili cheese. I used to say that alcohol lit a match in my veins, but it was more like the wild and uncontrollable poof that takes place when you leave a gas stove on for too long and then add flame. Evenings could ignite in disaster or good times or both. A college friend tells a story about the time I staggered out of my 3rd-floor apartment at 1 a.m., dangling a cigarette out of my mouth, fell down a flight of concrete stairs, then picked the cigarette off the ground, and just kept smoking. You could say I was a party girl, although that sounds like some hot chick in a crop top grinding on the dance floor. I thought of myself as an old-fashioned lush who believed in the healing power of draft beer and vodka. Half Irish and half Finnish, I was practically bred to hold my liquor. And there was nothing moderate about the way I drank. I mean, I drank fast and I drank with vigor. I never went in much for moderation anyway. Not in love, not in work, and not in premium import lager. No way, I wanted to be all in. And so, there were mornings when I woke up in a dog bed, and it felt like someone had taken a melon baller to my frontal lobe. God, what a disaster those blackouts were. I mean, what an insult to basic common sense, not to know where you were or how you got there, a big blank spot where 3 hours should have been. "Do you think you got roofied?" a friend asked me later. "Yes," I said, "I think someone slipped me 10 drinks." Eventually, I discovered what happened at the office party. I'd been so bombed I couldn't remember where I lived, which is very classy. And so an exceedingly nice coworker took me to the home of another exceedingly nice coworker. If you're going to be a lush, by the way, exceedingly nice friends are pretty much a requirement. In the middle of the night, I got confused and I toddled out into the living room and I snuggled up in the dog bed. When I woke up, I was mortified. "Please don't tell anybody at work about this," I asked my colleague as he drove me to my car the next morning. And because he is an exceedingly nice guy, he did not. But he didn't have to, because I did. See, I turned the whole episode into shtick. We laughed about the dog bed incident at the staff meeting. My boss demanded details. Was I sprawled or in the fetal position? Did the dog whine or bark? Comedy is tragedy plus time, and apparently time, for me, is about 45 minutes in a breakfast taco. I quit drinking for a year after that, but normal life felt quiet and bloodless. Quitting something you love, be it a doomed relationship or vodka martinis, rarely happens in one moment. It's an accumulation of failed attempts, coming back on your knees only to break all the dishes in the cabinet the next day. So eventually I was roaring to life again with a beer sloshing in one hand. I promised myself I'd be more careful this time. I would be in control this time, but screw that. I was all in. Maybe it was a coincidence, or maybe it was just a sign of the indulgence of the early 21st century, but both Bridget Jones's Diary and that fizzy HBO show with the four fancy ladies, it became popular right around that time. And it created something of a golden age for brassy sots like me. Suddenly it seemed that the most thrilling part of being a woman, and a writer, and a charming, self-deprecating heroine was getting sauce to the gills and avoiding the gym at all costs and trailing cigarette ashes and bad romances behind me, all of which I was already doing. Ta-da! I drank through several promotions and at least 2 very important relationships. There were years when my drinking was fine, and then I would set the curtains on fire again. What's funny and kind of sweet to me now is how faithful I stayed to drinking, how I never strayed from that one escape. I mean, friends around me would get baked and they dabbled in cocaine and rubbed each other's scalps rolling on X, but I was like the girl who fell in love with her childhood sweetheart. This one's good. This one's all I need. 2 years ago, I woke up from a lovely wedding reception and couldn't remember how I'd gotten home. It wasn't particularly dramatic. Nothing was amiss in the apartment. My head wasn't throbbing. Mostly what I felt was a blueness. Some flickering hope seemed extinguished. And I remember thinking, above all other things, that the answer to any question I could think of was no. I would never change. I would never quit drinking. I would wake up in dog beds every Sunday morning for the rest of my life, and I would be the sweet, heartbroken little lush someone had to carry out of the bar. What a failure of creativity. What a narrow little pinhole I was staring through. I mean, I was 36 years old, and I just thought that was it. I decided to quit drinking for 1 day, and then I tried 1 month, and then 6. Honestly, it's kind of how I drank too. Well, I'll just have 1 beer. Okay, I'll have 4. Well, 4 makes me think 6 would be a really good idea. I have no idea if I've quit drinking forever. I mean, who knows if they've stopped doing anything forever? I don't even know if I want cable next year. But that unpredictability is kind of the point. There's the possibility of another story that's different from the one that came before. I'm totally confused about how to date without drinking, how to dance on a table without drinking, how to say yes without drinking. But it's kind of thrilling when you let it be. It's a question mark that stretches into the horizon instead of one that hangs grimly over the night that passed.